What is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Love Wrestling Reacts. I'm Cody. I'm here with Mel. We're here for another wonderful week of New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax reactions. Unfortunately, Matt is still away and off and not able to be with us. Mel, how's it going tonight?
It is going a lot better than it has been the last couple of weeks. I actually feel like I've actually gotten some sleep in between the shows now, as opposed to being completely obliterated and tired coming into these things. How are you doing?
Exhausted. I actually got sleep all week and then binged it all over the last 24 hours again. So it's all at least fresh in my mind, even though it might be a little jumbled as to what happened on what nights. But that's why we take notes, right?
Exactly.
Just a quick shout out here. We got Astrid joining us. Great to see Astrid. Thanks for popping in.
I wanted to do a shout out to both Astrid and LJ for having me on the Impact Knockouts Knockdown review show on, I believe it was Sunday. That was a lot of fun. Good experience to be with the first all-girls group here. So shout out to Astrid.
Absolutely. Shout out to the wonderful ladies of Love Wrestling, putting out great content. Women in wrestling is something that needs to grow, and we're happy to have both Mel and Astrid here as part of our teams. Astrid just commenting that was so much fun. And then we've got that Canada dude also popping in here. Thanks for joining. Happy to see you. Let's dive in. We have a lot of wrestling to get through here, and we've got not quite as much of a time crunch as we had the last time we were on a Saturday, but we do still have a little bit of a time crunch. So we're going to jump all the way back to last week, Saturday night, Sunday morning, I think it was. We had A Block Night 7 kicked off with the first time we got to see a tag team match of the Young Lions. So we saw both Fujita and Oiwa taking on El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Really interesting to see kind of the dynamic of them as a tag. What did you think of that match, Mel?
So for me, I actually felt that the Young Lions worked, very, very well together, which is completely understandable. They train together every single day, so no one should know each other better than themselves. But I felt that the Young Lions worked very, very well together, doing the tag in and out, especially at the beginning of the match, working Kanemaru. I definitely feel Fujita definitely has that little bit more of experience, a little bit more over top of Oiwa. And as a result, I just feel like I enjoy watching him just that little bit more than Oiwa. It's interesting to see the difference in size, for sure. Fujita is definitely going to be a young super junior. I can see him coming in and definitely giving Hiromu a run for his money, whereas Oiwa, I always question, first of all, if I'm saying his name right, but second of all, he's definitely, as Kevin has mentioned a few times on commentary, he's definitely going to be a heavyweight, that one. He's putting on more and more size. Every time I see him getting more and more bulky, and the guy's barely even 20. He's going to have a good career ahead of him. Fujita actually managed to put Desperado in the Boston Crab throughout that match, and that impressed me. It's very hard to get someone, especially a double champion, recent double champion, into, I guess, what they would consider a simpler submission move. Desperado's been doing that, obviously, that beautiful standing double leg lock submission where he just stands over the guy at the end of the match. I'm just loving that. But this one, he actually finished it off with a numero dos, and he sunk that thing in super, super low on him. It was done at that point. I felt overall, this was a really great match and definitely showed that Fujita and Oiwa can work very well together. But obviously, Kanemaru and Desperado, they're great tag team. They came out with that win.
Yeah, I definitely felt a lot of the same there, that they did look like a really good tag team together. Again, obviously they're working with each other all day, every day in the dojo there, but it's nice to see them kind of on the same page, because we've seen how well they can work together in their draw matches prior to this tournament, but putting them together on one side of the ring was a different kind of tweak there. We also had Kanemaru ended up being the one who really kind of played the peril role in this match. To start, he was the one that the Lions got to really dominate early. Desperado came in and really kind of had that no nonsense attitude to him too for a while. I know Kevin, when Fujita got Desperado in that Boston Crab, Kevin made a comment about, oh, wow, look at this. He actually got him in it. And then Desperado just kind of pushes himself up and just crawls over to the ropes like immediately, like no nonsense whatsoever, not even showing that he was worried about it. Really kind of playing up that veteran status. Like, I've been in my share of Boston Crabs. You need to put it on a heck of a lot better than that to actually catch me in it. And then finishing with the numero dos, which was a nice kind of turn a pace on there, that we got that instead of that standing leg lock, because I mean, he put it on, and then I think it was Oiwa was the one that was free, came in and took him out to not actually let him get the tap on that. But then Desperado's like, fine, let's go back to what works and just wrap him up in a numero dos. And Fujita definitely selling the knee after that too, that he was really hurting. So
it's a very good reminder that as good of a kind of classic wrestler that Desperado is, he does pull out those submissions, and when he does, it can be out of nowhere and they can be deadly.
Yeah. Astrid again in the comments here, forever impressed by Mel's notes. We're all impressed by Mel's notes. That's why we keep bringing her back, Astrid.
I've got them all.
Yeah. So that one was quick and easy. That's what we've been seeing from the Young Lions, and even Kevin keeps mentioning it. We don't expect the Young Lions to win. They're here to learn, to take their lumps, and to get some experience in the ring. Really, it's just a chance for Desperado and Kanemaru to get some ring time in before they hit the Super Junior starting, I think, in the next 2 weeks, right?
I believe is it the first or second week of November?
Yeah, I think shortly after the tournament. Anyhow, yeah. So we jump next was the special match for this card. This time it's Tomohiro Ishii, who should have been facing Naito, and gets the call to draw Hiromu in this match. Just even Kevin called back to it at the start of the match here that Hiromu actually beat Ishii in that New Japan Cup last summer. So it's not like Hiromu couldn't beat him, and they really, really played that up. And Hiromu played very vicious, very violent, very fast, really kind of keeping Ishii on his toes throughout. It was definitely a combination of Hiromu's speed and quickness against Ishii's strikes. But ultimately at the end, it was also Ishii's quickness and getting that VDB off as quickly as he does that ended up finishing it. Just a couple notes I had is it definitely looked like Ishii, every time Hiromu tried to keep control with speed, it was the heavy strikes of Ishii that took him down. Really, really impressive Falcon Arrow. I thought that Hiromu got Ishii up and hit him with that. The Death Valley Driver that Hiromu hit him with on the apron was really insane. And then there was the one botched move too. I don't know if you caught it, the wheelbarrow into where Hiromu tried to bring Ishii over for the headlock takeover and just slammed Ishii's face into the mat. He couldn't actually get him over. That one kind of had me concerned. I thought he could have broke Ishii's nose there.
I was definitely more concerned for Hiromu's safety after that point, because nothing fires Ishii up more like being thrown on his face.
Yeah. Luckily, the match didn't go too long after that. But I did when I messaged this to you while I was watching as well. When Hiromu hit the time bomb on Ishii, I thought it was done. I thought I had actually called that one right, and that he'd actually managed to defeat him.
I'm the same. As soon as he got that, I was like, he's not gonna hit it. He's got Ishii's outclassed him in so many ways here. Like, there's no way he can get him up. As soon as he hit it, I was in the same boat as you. I was like, oh, he's done. This is gonna be the first one. But again, as you mentioned, that vertical drop brainbuster, and he's just too quick. Gets him up there, and let's be honest, that Hiromu was a ragdoll for him at that point.
Yeah. We got the Omen fan. Long time no see. Yeah, it's been a whole 20 hours, I think. But thanks for popping in, Eric. Hopefully we can keep you entertained with our New Japan talk here today. Anything else on that match before we continue into the actual block matches?
Yeah, I've definitely felt that Ishii really let Hiromu have a lot in this match. Ishii is usually really balanced in himself in that, the heavy strikes kind of slow everything down. And I feel like he's usually match for match, strike for strike, move for move. I definitely felt that he let Hiromu show off just a little bit. And this would kind of be his one real opportunity since Kenta, obviously, since coming back from that, I believe it was a torn pec from the earlier in the year. So I felt that this was a great match for Hiromu to kind of get ready for the Super Junior coming up. But yeah, there was that one point where he got 3 or 4 near falls almost on Ishii right away. I was like, oh my God. This match was a very good match, fast-paced match, and a heavy hitting match. And again, Ishii always hitting in the throat. It drives me crazy.
Those chops are always, they look high. They look like he's going to take somebody's Adam's apple out. Eric also saying hi to you. That Canada dude, Hiromu Ishii, was so freaking great. Hiromu needs to be in the G1 next year.
Is there a weight limit on what they're allowed to be?
I don't know, because I think Shingo and Ospreay were both still on that cusp and still wrestling as juniors when they were in it a couple years ago. So,
I mean, I would love to see Hiromu kind of step up a class, because I'm feeling like he's getting to the end point where, when and if he ever becomes a double champion, what else could he possibly do in the junior division besides move up and start dominating?
Yeah. He can definitely hold his own with the top tier guys. We've seen that in the New Japan Cup last year. We've seen it in these showcase matches and throughout the past couple of years when the rosters have been slimmed because of COVID, that we know he can hold his own. It's just a matter of would they want him to try and bulk up that size, and how well could he do it just with his height and his stature and his build? How well can he bulk up to reach those higher weights without sacrificing what he does in the ring?
Exactly. And the more mass on you, the harder it is to be flexible, harder it is to get going. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So let's jump in. A block, night 7, first match of the night, Kenta versus Zack Sabre Jr. This was everything I wanted it to be. I had this match circled on my calendar right from the day that the brackets were announced. Just what I really noticed out of this was Kenta really, really forcing Zack into making it a striking match, not letting Zack get going with those combinations of submissions, not really letting him get, as you called yesterday, his data scan off at the beginning where he's trying to pinpoint a weakness. It was Kenta doing what Kenta does a lot of it, the rolling in and out of the ring, the, grabbing the ropes, ducking away, just avoiding, not really letting Zack get that read on him. Zack tried to focus on do a lot of the technical stuff. It was a lot more just striking on Kenta's arms, just the kicks to the elbow, it's coming at him, that kind of stuff, but not a lot of holds. In the end, Zack ends up getting with to go to the final couple nights. What did you have from this match that really kind of caught your eye? What did you think? I know you're rooting for Kenta in the tournament, so.
Yeah, as I'm honestly, as much as I love Kenta, and I called him from this match, I was honestly surprised that he won. But I'm kind of sitting here bragging rights. I've been talking my ish on Twitter to you, to Matt, and just being like, guys, what happened? But you're absolutely right. Kenta absolutely baited Zack Sabre Jr. into a striking match, which is something that he does not particularly excel at. Not because of his size, because he seems to be freakishly tall, but I think because he just kind of relies a lot more on that technical kind of prowess that he has. And you're absolutely right. He was not able to get that early kind of scan off on Kenta. He just wouldn't let up. One thing I did notice, and something that kind of strange, is that Zack Sabre Jr. is actually bulking up a little bit. From what I've noticed from him before, where he was always kind of a little stringy, little smaller than most people. Not to take anything away from that, but he was a lot smaller in comparison, particularly to the rest of his team. And he seems to be on that Kanemaru Desperado choo-choo train of, we're going to pump you up. And there's certainly Suzuki-gun is kind of looking like they're preparing for something. I'm a little concerned about what may happen when Mr. Suzuki comes back from his little excursion there. But something else I did notice, that ankle lock into the roll throw into the exposed turnbuckle for the GTS finish was absolute perfection. That gave me a reaction where I just arms in the air. I didn't expect this. So that match was for me. That was my little crown. That was my I told you guys so moment.
Just gonna throw that up there real quick. Got Brent in the Facebook feeling a little lonely in there, so we'll throw him up. That twitch.tv/lovewrestlingca. It's all scrolling on the bottom as well if anyone wants to join the conversation. Looks like most of our group are all on the Twitch channel there, so feel free to hop in and watch on there if you're on Facebook or YouTube as well. I felt it was coming. I felt this was a spot that Zach probably wasn't going to be able to come through on. He really did feel going into this that he was winning too much and getting too far ahead, and beating Kenta in this spot really would have brought it down. I think Zach and Shingo and maybe Ibushi at the end of the day, that this keeps it really tight going into the end there. Lots coming up in the stream from the rest of the week of action, but we've got some big stuff coming in the last couple nights here leading into the finals as well. With that, I think we can move on from that match. Both of those guys still alive, still very much alive moving forward after night 7. We got Yujiro versus Toru Yano in Yano Shenanigans. I'll let you start with the Yano talk because we know how much Mel loves Yano.
Yano Shenanigans. And these were like Yano in his kink bag, man. It just seems to be the G1 thing that he's just playing it out there. Handcuffs everywhere, black bags. I mean, this was a Yano match, but Yujiro is one of those guys who, as serious as I think he wants to be taken, I feel like he loves these matches because they're easy matches for him. It's almost like if you're going into a battle royal, you're only in there for that little bit of time, so you get to have fun with that little bit of time. With a Yano match, it's just gonna be a fun time and hoping that you make it to the pin or submission. I think this was the one where Yujiro ended up handcuffed underneath the ring and then losing, and poor Peter. And Yano was offering the key afterwards. I mean, it was a personal choice to walk away from it. So, yeah. I mean, there was also the beginning spot where Yano was tied up and then attached to the chair. I thought that was great. This match was a really good comedy match for me.
Over the last couple weeks, I've noticed that I've appreciated that everyone keeps saving us from Yano's entrance, like 5-minute entrance announcement. This one was Yujiro attacking him, setting up the chair that Yano brings to the ring, taping him up, and then sitting him down on the chair and then knocking him out of it. But then I got a good kick out of Yujiro not knowing how to unhook the one turnbuckle pad. He went into the corner and he's struggling with the knots and just can't get it off. I'm like, clearly Yujiro is just not used to doing this or something. But Marty Asami, as Yujiro goes corner to corner, taking every single turnbuckle off, and Marty just stands there and watches him and does nothing. Doesn't try to stop him. Isn't even yelling at him, just watching him. It's like, okay, I guess.
Marty doing Marty things, really.
Really? Yeah. No, Marty, at this point, I think Marty's just fed up. He's like, do whatever you want. Whatever.
It's going to take the red shoes approach.
I did also appreciate in this match that Kevin gave the shout out to Rocky Romero, saying we wish we had the names of all of these wonderful turnbuckle pads, but we don't. But yeah, it was low blows exchanged on both sides. Marty got taken out. The regular Marty standing over there trying to flirt with Peter, and then you end up Yano under the ring with one handcuff on his hand. Yujiro decides for some reason to go chase him under the ring. Yano comes out, and now Yujiro has the cuffs on both hands. I think behind his back even, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And can't make it inside, or no, does make it inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, he doesn't. No. He makes it out from under the ring, but he doesn't actually get in the ring before the count, right?
Yeah, and
That's how
can't
we
get back
enter the
in.
count out. It's a Yano match. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It was, something new again. The under the ring stuff and the handcuffs and
Mm-hmm.
Yujiro joining in and doing a lot of it himself too, taking the turnbuckles off for Yano, that kind of stuff. Nothing too special here. Yano's still alive after this win. Although he's right on that cusp until later in the night. But as of the win over Yujiro, I believe he was still in the points conversation at least.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we get Tangaloa versus Shingo. This one going in felt like it was going to have, a very one-sidedness to it. What I did appreciate in this match, though, is that it gave an example of what NJPW can really, really do well, and that's making you believe that anybody on the roster can compete with any champion on any given night. They might not be there every night of the week, but in one match for one night, they can up their game to be there. And again, that's something we see a little bit later on in this week where it's even more on display.
Oh, I 100% agree. This match was great.
Yeah, I felt, Tangaloa ultimately he had no business being on Shingo's level going into this tournament, but the story of Tonga upping his game every match and every show, giving everything he has to take down each and every opponent and try and get that first win for himself of the tournament. He's consistently right there, just can't seem to get over that cusp. And, twice he had him up on his shoulder for his finisher and just couldn't end up landing the finish and getting caught with the Last of the Dragon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Last of the Dragon finish is always a good finish, right?
Yeah.
Something I did also notice that you're absolutely right. Tongaloa has been showing up and showing out in this tournament. Both him and his brother, in their own respects, have been really surprising me. And Tama is always, of the two, he's my favorite. And so I've always, kind of put him a little higher up on that pedestal. But Tongaloa in the last couple matches that he's had has really showed that he deserves to be on the same level as his brother. And of course, Shingo, he needed 2 of those straight rights to put Tongaloa down. This was really a big battle of strength and who could outlast who. And there was one power slam, I believe, that Tongaloa did to Shingo off of the second rope where he actually slipped, and that was the one moment where I was like, oh my god, we're going to be down the champion. Thought he was going to land on his head. Mercifully, both men, so experienced, they know what they're doing. They were able to save Shingo's neck.
Yeah.
And like you said, Last of the Dragon finish, he made Shingo work hard for that one, though.
He did. Just going to throw this comment up here quickly about Yano and Yujiro. That Canada dude rates it a 1.75 out of 5. A bad match, not what I want to see in G1. I mean, to each their own. Yano's not for everybody. He's a nice breather in the G1 tournaments. You don't expect him to win the tournament, but he does get those upsets. He likes to play the spoiler, and he wins enough every year that, justifies him being there the next year. It's always nice to have those comedy and breather moments. You don't want to have 5 5-star matches in every night. You need to give the audience a chance to kind of catch their breath, laugh, relax a little bit before you get into that next big match.
Yeah, could you imagine if every single match was a banger? I'd be exhausted by intermission.
Yeah.
Something also about Yano is that he does something different, which is a very kind of drastic change from Evil and Togo, who kind of sort of do the exact same thing. You just change the participants. Yano likes to do different things. The going under the ring, the bag of kinks. Last year he threw, or Hiromu put him down an elevator. Like, it's always something interesting. And granted, Yano's not my favorite. They're not always my favorite matches, but you're absolutely right. They're the perfect break in an otherwise intense kind of show.
Yeah, like this one, they were coming back out of the intermission, right? So we had Kenta and Zach, and then we went to intermission, then we had the Yano match, and then we went into the Shingo match. And going from Kenta versus Zach into a Shingo match is just, you need a breather there. And an intermission even probably wasn't enough of a breather that you have to put the Yano match there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Shingo's doing a great job at just letting everyone be on his level and letting a lot of these guys that maybe shouldn't be on his level having an opportunity to show what they're capable of and show their skill against the champion, and that they can actually hang in a match even if they aren't somebody who's regularly considered to be a championship contender.
Absolutely. And we can use the Yano against Shingo as a perfect example of that.
Yeah. So then the main event of that show was the Great Okan versus Kota Ibushi. I am going to let you start on this one because I have some thoughts on it, but I want to hear what you have to say.
See, I only had 2 notes on this, and now thinking back, I'm not actually remembering a ton of this match. I do remember Okan bleeding at the end. And I remember that it was a pretty nasty looking finish, but otherwise, I felt that the match itself was very balanced, very back and forth. There were moments where Ibushi was doing great. There were moments where Okan was doing great. I felt that Ibushi, that both Okan and Ibushi, they kind of function on this thing where they adapt to whoever they're wrestling in the ring. And we've seen that with Okan, especially going from Kenta to Zack Sabre Jr. to now to Ibushi. I feel like they might have struggled a little bit with that at the beginning of the match, but I feel like it eventually got on to a track where I was quite content with what I saw. But other than that, I didn't have a whole lot written down for this one. What are your thoughts on it?
What really stood out to me, so I know we've talked in past weeks about how Ibushi was so well known for fighting his opponent's style. And then this year, it's really been a focus for Great Okan that he's been fighting in his opponent's style. So going into this, I was curious, like, what kind of style these two would like match up and what they would choose to wrestle. And they almost didn't even choose to wrestle. It was very much a mixed martial arts kickboxing style, just open standing exchange, just feeling each other out with strikes is what I thought it was to begin with. And then it just turned out the entire match was strikes. There was very little in the way of like actual grapples and wrestling moves throughout. Basically striking for about 90% of the match. I thought I really enjoyed it. It was still a great display for both men. It was something unique. It was something like individual to their styles and capable of their styles. But it also leaves an opening in the future that if we get to see this match again, maybe Great Okan decides to actually try and wrestle or brawl with Ibushi as opposed to just trying to strike and exchange. They wrestled a striking match. He lost a striking match. It leaves it very wide open that you can see them again and see a completely different style of match because we know that both of these guys can wrestle everybody else's style. So I would love to see a match that's like a technical exchange for them, a brawl to the outside exchange, just, you know, all different styles of wrestling matches that these guys we know are capable of.
100% nail on the head there.
Ultimately, I thought it was probably one of the weaker main events that we've had throughout the tournament, but it was still, that's not to take anything away from either man. It was still a fantastic match. I just feel like the Shingo or the Kenta and Zack matches probably would have been your better bets for our main event on this card.
I'm just partial to Kenta because, you know, I was right.
We're just going to start calling him Hideo just to spite you.
Frickin' Hideo.
Any other thoughts on the match or on the rest of that show?
No, I felt that you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. It definitely wasn't the best main event. I definitely felt that something else probably earlier in the night could have been there, but otherwise, that like I thought it was a great showcase for Okan and Ibushi and you're right in that thinking back to it, it was pretty much a striking match, and with Okan has that judo background, and I believe Ibushi also has some kind of martial arts background. So yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. Going forward, I would like to see these guys get into it, maybe in one-on-one and maybe in a tag match too. You never know. Okan and Cobb would be a pretty dominant tag team going into World Tag League.
Yeah. Let's jump on to B Block Night 7 then. Start out quick, easy, another Young Lion showcase. This time, Hiromu draws the role of the junior, getting to work things out against the young lion. And the only thing Hiromu seemed to be working out was Oiwa's chest. This
Oh
was
yeah, them titties got tenderized.
this was chop after chop after chop. Um, Basically, this looked like a training lesson where Hiromu was just teaching Oiwa how to take chops, because that's for most of this match, it was just him slapping chest. Oiwa got a little bit in chops of his own and throwing the chops back at Hiromu, but ultimately it just ended up as a Boston Crab finish, again, making the Young Lions tap out to the Boston Crab.
No, you're 100% right. That was a come here, little boy. Let me show you how we do things around here match. Pretty sure it was Uiwa or was it Fujita the next night. One of them ended up bleeding on the chest because of the chops, the blisters on the chops.
Both of their chests were beaten pretty raw in these singles matches, and then the tag match too. I think one of them was pretty badly hit.
And Hiromu is just ruthless with those Mexican chops. He doesn't even do the typical back. He comes down on your titty and just flips your nipple. Something fierce. It's not fun.
Oh, I mean, those chops just in general never look fun, but Hiromu looked like he was packing something extra on his.
Yeah, that one was definitely, yeah, you can't really say much else about that. That's exactly what it was.
I mean, the showcases have all been great. Hiromu looks great. He looks ready for the tournament. I'm going to jump us right into the first match of the night, though. Tama and Taichi. Obviously, with both of their standard valets out with them. Taichi has his ribs heavily taped up. Tama immediately targets them. They end up on the outside brawling. Taichi tries to take control, and as soon as Taichi takes control, Tama takes it right back with attacks on the ribs. That was basically the story of the match. Every time Taichi started gaining momentum, it was a shot to the ribs, and Tama had momentum back. A little surprised that Tama went over here. It's been a surprise, just the fall from grace for Taichi, but we did recognize the injury weeks ago, right? We noticed it in the Cobb match, or possibly even before that. So something must be bothering him there, or he's really selling it well, one of the two. But Tama with the clean hit on the gun stun, not really any interference, and just Tama goes over. That's big. Tama's now pinned one half for the tag champions, and on the final night of the bracket, we see Zack Sabre Jr. go up against Tongaloa. That if there's an upset there, that could be the Guerrillas of Destiny pinning both of Dangerous Techers. So I'm going to throw you on the big screen for a sec while I do something backstage here. Let you give us your thoughts on this match.
Well, I really enjoyed seeing Jackdo out there with Tama Tonga, and of course Miho Abe with Taichi. What I always like is that neither one of them are really a factor in the match at all. They're just kind of there for their little entrance and to make sure that everything kind of goes kosher throughout the match. I really enjoyed seeing the old rivalry between Dangerous Techers and GOD kind of coming back into play in this. And yeah, you're absolutely right with the rib injury on Taichi. So it was actually something that I had noticed back when Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. had wrestled a match with Doki against the Chaos faction, was when I kind of started noticing he was kind of fidgeting with his ribs a little bit more. Coming into the G1, I kind of thought that maybe it wasn't going to be a problem because he didn't have them taped. He didn't seem to be affected by them. But yeah, after his match, I think it was with Cobb. Yeah, I think it was with Cobb. After that point, that was when the ribs started to really become an issue. And like you had mentioned, Tama also, every time Taichi started to kind of make a comeback, Tama targeted those ribs and took him down. Had this noted, the gun stun reversal into the suplex from Taichi was great, but the second attempt was what put Taichi away.
Yeah. No, and it was Taichi when he tried to go for the Black Mephisto too, when he actually had that opportunity. And as soon as he got Tama up on his back, Tama just quick slap to the ribs there, and it was done. I agree that Tama has been a super solid worker all through this G1. I've been so impressed with Tama Tonga as a singles talent. Touch a little bit more on that when we get to the night 8 B block match that Tama was in, because there's some major thoughts that I have coming out of that, as I've been very speculative on the future of Bullet Club throughout this tournament. So, with that, Tai Chi, I think, was officially eliminated. If you hadn't already been, he might have already been as well.
I think so, yeah. I think you're
So,
right, yeah.
Tama and Tai Chi both not in the running here in the B block. Next up was Sonata versus Yoshihashi, and both of them were also already out of this before this match even started. I didn't have a lot of notes for this match. There was nothing really that stood out for me from the Sonata and Yoshihashi match. I felt that lots of reversals, lots of momentum swings. There was some exchanges. The exchange that specifically with both guys getting the knees up on each other, with Sonata going for the moonsault and then Yoshihashi going off the top with the swanton, and both of them getting the knees up. It was a neat little back and forth that they had there. And then the finishing sequence really stood out to me, though, with Yoshihashi, where he set him up for the karma and then rolled him up instead. And then actually tried to go for the karma and ended up getting it reversed into the skull end. That just the way that was all played out, and that, Yoshihashi trying to be smart and not go for karma because Sonata wouldn't be expecting it. And it was a really close call. And then moving forward into, actually trying to go for it, and it ended up being his downfall.
And that's Sonata. He is such a smart worker when it comes to his in-ring stuff. The Paradise Lock, I always got to shout it out. It's one of my favorite submissions, particularly because it just gets whoever it is stuck in one small, compact space, and the only way to get them out is to drop kick them in the butt. I appreciate that a great deal. But yeah, you're right. I felt it was a consistent back and forth, consistent reversal. I was really happy that Sonata finally did his moonsault successfully, and the only reason he did it was because Yoshihashi was on his stomach instead of his back. Because usually when I see Sonata go up there, I'm screaming at the TV, "No, you never hit this! Get off of there!" It was nice to finally see him hit it, just like it's nice to finally see Kojima when he actually hits the elbow drop. Happens so infrequently.
Just a shout out to Ed joining us on YouTube today. We're his second favorite show of the week after NXT. So while we've got it out, shout out to NXT on Tuesday nights, where I am joined by by Astrid and Ed. Mel does not join us on NXT. Tune in Tuesday nights following NXT 2.0, and right here on Love Wrestling, where we talk about what has been happening on the NXT programming on our NXT show.
Tea.
Bring your tea, okay? Pinky's up. There you go.
Hit me in the face.
Next up on the Night 7 of B Block, we had Chase Owens versus Kazuchika Okada. Another great show by Chase Owens here. Really, really felt like this could have ended up with him having a win over both Okada and Tanahashi in this tournament. Great match, great story told. Chase had a reversal for every single Rainmaker attempt that Okada tried to pull. Again, Kevin kind of giving that shout out that Jay White's had historical success against Okada. And, could Chase have given another call to Jay to get some tips? And whether he did or not, he definitely played that story like he at least had an answer for Okada's best weapon. And it ended up being Okada having not just to go back to the money clip, but to find a new way to apply the money clip, which was very impressive. Flattening Chase out into it instead of applying it in just the sitting position like he had. Okada moves up to 7-0 at this point, on the top of the block at that moment specifically. Looking really good coming into the home stretch and possibly heading into a big showdown on the final night. What did you think of Chase in this one?
I mean, I liked Chase before going into this G1. This has just knocked him a few more pegs up for me. I noted here that Okada kind of almost was coming into this match at the beginning of it, acting, well, I would say a little cocky, acting like he maybe kind of had this in the bag, wasn't quite in that fighting stance and ready stance that we typically would see him in against someone like Tanahashi or Ibushi. But I think Chase kind of forced him to take him seriously, and the match for me really picked up about midway through. There was a slingshot spear that Chase does. Anything involving slingshotting, I just love and appreciate. And for me, that was for me a good point in the match where I was like, oh, he could actually take this. And I think there was 2 times that that Chase actually got Okada up for the package pile driver. Each time it happened, I popped. I thought he had it. But again, like you'd mentioned, the money clip with that new position, flattening Chase right out on his, I think it was on his stomach to get the entire thing so that he couldn't get out of there. It was just exactly what he needed to do to put the Texas heavyweight champion away.
Yeah, on the next show, in hindsight, when Kevin Kelly was talking about it, he talked about it almost that he like put it almost in like a camel clutch type of position, how he had it applied, which was a nice little touch there, just giving a little bit more definition and description to it too, because it makes sense that he had him kind of in that camel clutch on his back and then yanking the arm up and around the neck on him. Definitely always fun to see Okada, expanding that skill set and that move set and pulling something new. We've been telling for the last year and a bit that his reliance on the Rainmaker, that it had been almost unbreakable for so long. And for someone like Chase Owens to be the one to really, really just have the answer to every single Rainmaker attempt that came out. The first package pile driver, I was kind of getting where you said he got him wrapped. He started to get him up, but Okada fought it. The second one, he had him upright even. He had him ready to go and just never sat out on it. And I thought for sure that he had him there. It was great. That Canada dude just kind of mentioning as well, another definition, just more of like a crossfire positioning than the camel clutch. Not entirely familiar with the crossfire. Maybe you are, Mel, but
I know the crossface.
Crossface.
He did kind of have him more in the crossface. The crossface would be on the belly, but
there you go. Yeah,
I'm not particularly I'm not particularly great with the movesets. That's why I rely on the excellent commentary skills of Kevin Kelly.
Yeah, we're definitely missing Chris Charlton this week. Always miss Chris Charlton when he's not there to give me translations.
You'll hear someone yelling at ringside and be like, Chris, what did he say? You're not there.
They need to give me Milano Collection just translating or something. No, it was a great match. I've become a very big Chase Owens fan because of this tournament. I always kind of thought there was something more to him than just the Bullet Club fall guy, and this has really shown me that he's got so much skill, so much talent, and he deserves to get a push and get on his own and stand on his own 2 feet for a while. Next up, we had an Evil match, and it was an Evil match. I feel like Goto got a fair amount of offense in, looked to have a roll-up win, but Togo had Asami distracted when it happened. Regular stuff. Evil grabs Marty Asami while Goto's trying to hit the GTR on him. Togo comes in with the garrote to choke Goto out while Goto's practically unconscious. Everything's evil. We're done. It's been the Evil's formula throughout this tournament, really, except for the Tama Tonga match. Up until this point, every match has gone pretty much that route if Evil's winning it. That you got the Togo interference, the Togo distractions, the low blows, the garrote wire, the exposed turnbuckles. There's nothing new in an Evil match at this point. I think we've been through it all up until there.
I 100% agree. I'm actually surprised because this, I think, is the most notes that I've taken on an Evil match in the entire G1. Of course, Abe no.
Goto was in it.
Yeah, because Goto was in it. I had, of course, Abe no, Abe-san. Why do you keep twice this time? Twice they took him out, and each time that bell hit the ground, I think at the same time. And I thought it was actually Abe ringing his bell. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, Evil shenanigans, it's kind of become almost to the point where it is kind of boring and almost nonsensical. At least with Tai Chi, they were able to kind of integrate something different where Miho was willing to be kind of the weapon in that kind of respect. But like they haven't been able to follow up on that since. And it's very unfortunate because Evil is such a talented in-ring competitor. We saw that with LIJ. We saw that when he was actually, the double champion at the beginning there. And it's just like ever since he's lost those titles, it's kind of been that he's kind of the laughable guy right now. And it kind of makes me sad.
It's frustrating for sure because at least with Yano, there's enough nuance to what Yano does that every week he does some of the same stuff, but he adds something new. And with Evil, there's nothing really new being added in. Like you had the show appearance in the Tamatanga match, you had the Miho Abe stuff with Taichi, but other than that, it's always the same stuff with Evil. Every match, the same spots, the same stuff, nothing new.
Yeah, the only thing you change is the opponent.
Yeah.
Of course, Evil's always really good at popping off that magic killer with the referee. So, of course, Marty Asadi getting involved in the match again. And, of course,
Jesus,
Marty got taken out. And even though Togo got involved, Goto was still able to kind of kick out of that first Togo interference.
Yeah.
Then he followed up his GTR with a lariat spot that just made Goto look absolutely explosive, absolutely dominant. There was a cradle roll up, which ended up with an interference from Togo, leading to a corner spot that was amazing. I don't remember what the spot was, but I noted it, so it must have been good.
I think that was the one where Evil came, like, had them lined up that he was going to come and squash Goto into.
Yes, it was like a little sandwich.
He pulled Marty out of the way so that Evil just ran into Togo.
Yes, I think that was the one. Yeah, I definitely thought that Goto had it, and then there was it looks like Evil grabbed the ref and Togo interfered. I definitely felt after that next Togo interference where my interest in the match just.
Well, that was kind of right at the finish, too. So I think the lariat spot you're talking about was right after Goto hit the reverse GTR on him. And then he hit the lariat, and then there was the spot where he had the roll-up on Evil while Togo had Sami distracted right before that corner spot. And then there was a little bit of back and forth, and then... I think it was actually right after that corner spot that you had.
Yeah, it was
Goto
very
grabbed
close
him
at
to
the
go
end,
for the GTR, and Evil instead just grabs Asami and, like, hugs him to him to stop... Goto from doing that, and meanwhile Togo's there with the garrote, pulls him off, chokes him out, and then Evil stands him up to just slam him back down again.
Yeah, everything is evil, particularly this person. But I was hoping for Goto on that one, obviously, because at this point, like, I'm over Evil. As much, again, as I really enjoy his in-ring ability, the addition of Togo just makes him not unwatchable, but it certainly makes it almost intolerable.
Yeah, it's hard, especially when they're not changing anything up and it's just formulaic and it doesn't have anything really enjoyable to it. I think they think the Abe-san spots are fun or something, that they keep doing it, but I appreciate what happens in Evil's next match with that, and we'll get to that in a little bit here. So then we had the main event on that show, Cobb versus Tanahashi. Cobb's power and athleticism against Tana's experience. This is what I really felt like they were trying to tell here. Like, Cobb really just tried to seem to overpower him a lot of the time, and Tana just used his smarts, uses his wits. He was a veteran, a wily veteran who had counters prepared. He would take the heavy hits, but then the next time Cobb would come, he'd have something ready to just try and, take that breather and get away from him. Old school ring tactics and positioning really were Tana's best weapons here to try and get the win. Him trying to really target Cobb's leg with the dragon screws worked for a little while, that he really had Cobb hobbled there, and Cobb struggling to make some of those lifts, but it was ultimately the same as expected Cobb at this point. The power wins out, and he pushes through, hits the tour, and gets the win. I did write down, though, that I did feel like this is probably the most vulnerable we saw Cobb so far in this tournament.
Oh, interesting.
I felt like Tana controlled almost all of the match.
Sorry, say that again?
I felt like Tana controlled almost all of the match.
I did definitely feel that Tana didn't get as much offense into it as he would normally, but he did definitely have a very easy time kind of reversing things once he started getting used to it. There was one point where he Tana actually baited Cobb out of the ring. And I don't know why, but I thought it was cute. It was almost like, oh, you're trying to do something. There you go. Um, but yeah, I also noted that he really started targeting Cobb's knee. Of course, you got a big guy. I mean, the best way to kind of protect yourself in that situation is to take out the one thing that could help power you up over a certain amount. So, very very smart of Tana. Something I thought was also really interesting was the spin cycle reversal into the sling blade. That was just played out really, really nicely, really smoothly. I don't think he could have done that with anybody other than Cobb, and I don't think Cobb could have done that with anyone other than Tana. I just feel that they know each other so well at this point that they were able to work that into something that I've never seen anybody else try that yet. So
Yeah.
also, I have the immediate German suplex by Cobb into the Tour of the Islands to take down Tanahashi. That was brutal. That German was brutal. I
Yeah.
thought he landed on his head. But yeah, this match, I don't know if I agree that Cobb seemed vulnerable, but he certainly seemed the most shaken. So maybe you are right about that, about the vulnerability. He certainly seemed more shaken after this match than any other match that he's wrestled in the G1.
It just felt like there was something there that he just realized throughout this match that, oh man, maybe I can't just overpower my way to a win. Maybe I need to be a little bit more strategical and smarter and look at what he's doing. I can't just push him around and throw him around and get away with it. Tana's got that figured out. Tana's taken his lumps. He knows how to take a beating, and it doesn't seem to be affecting him as much.
Interesting.
It was definitely a good match. It was a good show. Up until this point, I mean, B Block's been a 2-horse race, and you're looking Cobb and Okada coming out of this show at 7-0, both sitting on the top. And I think Evil was at 6-1 coming out of this, right? Still able to come through.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was at 6-1 coming out of this show here, because they were the only three still alive. But Evil needs to basically win out and needs Okada and Cobb to both drop into a 3-way tie with him. Moving on, A Block Night 8. We had another Young Lion showcase. This time Fujita got his shots in on Hiromu. Another spirited striking exchange, and Fujita getting his turn to just take the beating on his chest for Hiromu. I unfortunately didn't get to watch this match too closely. I had it on, but was kind of preoccupied in the moment as well. Was there anything specific here that stood out from Fujita and Hiromu that we didn't see in the Oiwa match?
To be honest, I kind of felt that these matches were actually pretty comparable. The only difference is, as I had mentioned, the difference between Fujita and Oiwa. Just Fujita seems to have just that tiny little bit more experience. So I felt that the match was a little bit more quick, just because I feel like you had two super juniors essentially kind of going at it. But like you said, again, good chop exchange, definitely kind of lit up Fujita's chest there. And Fujita even tried to get the Boston on it. I don't remember if he actually got it on him, but again, put away by his own kind of Boston Crab. It's really a little nudge to these guys, be like, yeah, you're here, but just remember, you still got a lot of work to do.
It's also a nice touch because a lot of these guys that they've been wrestling, like Master Wato and Hiromu and Kanemaru for sure, are fairly fresh out of the system as well. I don't know how long Desperado's been out of the dojo system there as well and back from his excursion and whatnot, but they're all still, they're dojo guys who came up through the dojo and did their work on the Boston Crab and just going back to their roots and proving, yeah, I've perfected this. This is where you've got to get to. Just 100%. A shout out to that Canada dude again. First time Cobb has seen human instead of like a monster. And I think that's ultimately what I was trying to get through with, the vulnerability there too. He seemed human against Tana, whereas he seemed just unstoppable against everyone else. I
Mostly
am
everybody else up until this point hasn't really gotten a really good offense on Cobb, and I think Tana was the first one to actually kind of give him a run for his money on that. So yeah.
yeah. I'm going to let you, because I know how much you love these next two men, both of them. I'm going to let you give us the rundown of that match and your thoughts on it. It is Kojima
Kojima.
and Ibushi.
I
Kojima?
just I love Kojima. Just you see him come out and you see how much he loves what he does and how much energy he just brings to the ring. President of Bread Club. You can't hate a guy who loves carbs. And that's something I noted. Always gives 110,000% in everything he's doing, just like Yuji Nagata. It doesn't matter if it's an opener or if it's a main event, you're going to be getting the same Kojima. Um, those mid kicks by Ibushi on Kojima, mm, Ibushi is really, really nasty with his strikes coming back from this sickness, and I'm really happy to see it because I was really worried about those strikes kind of going a little downhill after this. So it's nice to see them come back, do it really strong. Of course, I love Kojima's machine gun chops. You can't
Yeah.
have a Kojima match without machine gun chops, but he managed to hit the elbow drop after the smash in the corner afterwards, and that doesn't happen enough with Kojima Satoshi. The Koji cutter on the apron by Kojima on Ibushi looked hella nasty. Probably not what Ibushi would like going into the finals, obviously, but going into a match with Kojima again, you're getting 110,000%. You better be ready for him.
Yeah.
The Bombaye into the 2 count, I thought it was over at that point. Of course, let's see here. There was a brainbuster by Kojima that resulted in almost a pin. There was a clothesline that Ibushi did that in and out, landed on his face. No one does those better than Kojima, except for maybe Zack Sabre Jr., but I don't know if it's just because he's so little that he can fly a little easier. But Ibushi always sells amazingly, and of course Kamagoye for the finish. No shame in that loss, though. Kojima Satoshi, I mean, he's in his 50s. You got to hand it to him. He just hung with Kota Ibushi. That's a former world champion. Can't be upset about that.
Coming back, first match back in Japan after being over here and hanging with John Moxley on an AEW program as well. Like, for 50 years old, the man's making his rounds and he's doing, doesn't get as much respect as Minoru Suzuki for doing what he's doing in his 50s now, but he absolutely can still hang with these young kids and do what they do and put up his own in a match. Like, sure, he's probably too old to be in a G1 himself, but clearly he's still capable of putting on G1 quality of matches.
100%.
Not a chance that I thought Ibushi was going to fall there, but still a nice showcase match for Ibushi to get out with Kojima and just, wrestle someone who I think he idolizes. Ultimately, you saw at the end of the match there, he kind of gave him a little pat of respect and stuff after the pin was done. So
always nice to see.
Yeah, always nice to see when you've got, especially when it's like two fan favorites like that in Japan, and it's just two guys go out and give their all and then a pat on the back and move on. First A block match of the night, we had Tomohiro Ishii and Yujiro Takahashi. I didn't have a ton of notes taken down for this one either. Yujiro early on still relying on his usual tricks, getting the pimp stick, getting Marty to, go and spend time talking to Peter. But other than that, I kind of realized in this match that other than those early match kind of regular things that he's doing, Yujiro's been wrestling a fairly clean style. The pimp stick at the beginning is really his only thing at this point, and then he comes in and he's wrestling a lot cleaner. I think there might have been a couple low blows we've seen throughout the tournament, but considering he's a member of House of Torture in the Bullet Club, you would think that there should be a little bit more of that evilness to him, and there isn't. And I can respect that from him, that he's wrestling a lot more of an amateur style. This was a hard hitting, like, moves hit hard, strikes hit hard. A match where he was really, giving his all with Yujiro. But ultimately, Ishii in the end, again, just managed to catch that vertical drop brainbuster almost out of nowhere again for the win.
100%. And I agree with you in that the stick, the pimp stick, and Peter have definitely become less of a factor for him. And again, as you mentioned, being a House of Torture member, being a Bullet Club member, it is very, we'll say, atypical of them to follow, or not typical, sorry, of them to follow the rules. So it has been interesting to see this little kind of evolution from Yujiro for sure. And I believe I have noted here that Yujiro did a quick start on Ishii before going into that walking stick and Peter distraction. I definitely felt that this match was a little strong for Yujiro in the beginning, but once Ishii started to fire up, it was pretty hard to put him down after that point. Oh, something I also noted that I've never seen Ishii do. He wasn't actually hitting Yujiro when he was doing his back chops. He actually wasn't hitting him in the throat. He was actually hitting him square on the chest. I was the first person I kind of noticed him doing that to. So I'm like, maybe he has a little respect for Yujiro. I don't know. Something worth noting. I also noticed when he hit the pimp juice, I thought the match was done there. I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't, but I definitely thought it was done there.
I was definitely on the edge of my seat when he actually hit the pimp juice, just because they've kind of played it up this tournament that the big juice is his kind of go-to weapon now, and that the pimp juice hasn't been getting it done for him. So I thought, there's a chance this could be it, but I wasn't entirely sold that I would have popped if it actually did. But I was ready for the match to keep going, which it ultimately ended up being. And then when he did try and set up the big juice, he couldn't actually get Ishii up for it. So, and then so we go from one Bullet Club member into, I think, is the last Bullet Club versus Bullet Club match of the tournament we got. Tongaloa versus Kensa. Was a little surprised that we got a lot of shenanigans in this one. Like, not a lot of kind of disqualifiable stuff, but typical Kenta, like rolling in and out of the ring, just playing the mind games, like, oh, come wrestle with me outside. Oh no, come wrestle inside. Oh no, I'm outside again. Oh, inside. And that went on a really long time with Tongaloa just yelling at him, like, are you going to wrestle me or not? It played out. It was a fairly okay match. Kenta definitely did a lot of the underhanded tricks that you almost feel are more House of Torture stuff. I was left at the end, though, the low blows between the two of them, the Jado stuff with the kendo stick, and Kenta trying to play the Eddie Guerrero trick with the dead fish with the stick in the ring kind of stuff. I've been playing up the Bullet Club question marks all throughout here, and I've suggested that I think Kenta might be somebody who fits in that House of Torture. This really kind of left me thinking, a lot of what he did felt very, very evil-like. That could we see Kenta on the final night of the block, or the final night of the tournament, in some role, Kenta helping evil turn on Sama and Sanga?
I don't want to hear that, but maybe. I mean, yeah, with Kenta pulling all of that stuff, yeah, that would definitely make it kind of questionable. The only difference between evil and Kenta, obviously, is he was kind of pulling a Miho Abe, where he was just, sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. At least he was apologizing. Whether it was a legitimate apology or not remains to be seen, but at the very least, he was apologizing for it. Though, I mean, we have discussed before, Kenta doesn't really seem to have a solid place within Bullet Club kind of since joining. He's kind of like that floater who kind of goes from like little sub-click to little sub-click. He does tend to stick predominantly with Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, but he also has had, tendencies to go with like Chase and Fale, go with Jay White. So like, would it, I don't know. I want to see Kenta win, but I don't necessarily want to see him win with an evil-esque interference, because that would just mean Togo and shenanigans, which I would obviously like to avoid. However, it would make for one heck of a story.
Yeah. I feel like the big thing with Kenta right now, and just before I get into that thought, just going to shout out JJ Wren hopping in here. Looks like we got raided there. Got a bunch of people hopping in here. Thank you very much for raiding in on us. We're talking NJPW G1 Climax. Just talking A Block Night 8 right now. The Kenta versus Tangaloa match. Was that Astrid confirmed for me? I don't actually have the raid up. Was that Speedball Mike that raided us again? If it was, we very much appreciate Speedball Mike. Oh no, Mike the ref. Mike the ref.
Mike the ref.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Oh, we love Mike.
Yeah, just the thought on Kenta there is, I think the big thing with him was he was brought in at the end of that G1 29, but then COVID hit and he got trapped over here in Los Angeles where they were doing strong and couldn't be there for the G1 last year. And then they brought Evil in, and now since they brought Kenta back, it does feel like they don't really have a course set for him or a place for him in Bullet Club. He's there, he wears the stripes, he does the 2 sweet, but he doesn't have a Gato or a Jado or a Togo or anybody like that coming to the ring with him. He does his own kind of shenanigans on the side, but he doesn't really feel very Bullet Club-esque. So it's either it's going to be something where he's going to pick a side and be the one that causes the rift here, or he's going to be someone on the outs when the rift develops itself and have to pick a side afterwards, or be left out on his own as a free agent again.
I personally would like to see him kind of stick around with Bullet Club. I definitely feel that his attitude and the temperament definitely fit for it. I think that him and Jay White would probably do very, very well together if they kind of were more on the same continent, maybe.
Maybe there's a lot going on, and it'd be nice if we could open up these borders to actually see what's been going on or what's going to happen with like Bullet Club, with the whole group around. Get Fale in there, get Gato back in there, get Jay White in there. Let us see where we're at Bullet Club wise as a whole. I think we're good to move on from Bullet Club though. We got two matches left from this A Block night. Zack Sabre Jr. and Yano. Another Yano match, but I enjoy Zach in Yano matches because Zach just likes to talk. He talks to Yano. He like mouths off to Yano. There was a lot of this one started very similar to that Kenta match with them dealing with the in the ring, out of the ring, in the ring, out of the ring. Yano up on the ramp, come wrestle outside, and then Zach comes outside and Yano, we got a good ring here. They put lots of work in this ring. Come wrestle in the ring with me. It was fun going back and forth like that with him. He tried to play a lot of the same tricks of like he took Zach back behind the curtain up at the top of the ramp, and then Zach comes stumbling out with a bag on his head and ends up beating the count to get back in the ring. Yano tries to go under the ring again, but Zach catches a foot, puts him in an ankle lock, and drags him back out again. And then Yano comes out with cuffs and ends up cuffing Zach, but can't get the other cuff onto the railing, and Zach ends up turning around, cuffing himself to Yano. Really, really enjoyed the end of that match. That them wrestling that last 3-4 minutes, whatever it was, with the cuffs on, and just what they were doing despite being, stuck that far apart from each other, was really, really impressive. And I said it afterwards that I would love to see a Zach versus Yano handcuff match where they just wrestle for 10 or 15 minutes completely handcuffed together, where you don't get Yano shenanigans because he can't get far enough away from Zach to do them.
100%. Realistically speaking, being handcuffed to your opponent is the best case scenario for Zack Sabre Jr. because that just already gives him one limb down that he just needs to mess with. He can control that one, and we all know we can tie the other 3 up with realistically nothing. He could probably tie the rest of you up and still have a hand free. So yeah, no, I think that would be a really great match. The best of Yano.
Let's put it together. Let's put it together,
Mike. That would be a real short video. The best of Yano is his intro.
So with that, actually over those last couple matches now, with Kenta getting the win, over Tongaloa, and Zach getting the win over Yano put both of them at 12 points coming out of this. Ibushi, obviously, with kind of the bye week with the guaranteed points for the Naito forfeit, also sitting at 12. And then we go into the main event on that show, Great Okan versus Shingo. The newest kind of returned from excursion former young lion, Great Okan, taking the IWGP World Champion. Reading that on paper, who would expect Great Okan to do what he did in this match? Felt like Shingo was working from the top mostly early, looking like it was a champion matched up with a sophomore or rookie, whatever we want to call Great Okan. But Okan still even looked really good on that underdog role. I will let you take this while I deal with my dogs there for a second.
Go control the hounds. No, I 100% agree. Going into this match, when I saw Shingo come in with his ribs taped, obviously I was a little concerned. Especially after his last match, I believe we just discussed it with Tongaloa, seeing the ribs taped. It was obviously a cause for concern. He seems to have handled himself well, even ripping the tape off at the end of the match just to show this isn't a thing that's going to affect me. There was one point where they ended up over the guardrails and into the crowd and everything. I appreciate hearing Kevin just asking the fans if they're okay, ensuring that they're okay and enjoying themselves still. I appreciate that because there's, some people who won't even, wrestlers who won't even make sure the fans are okay, let alone the commentary crew. Then what do I have here? Solid chops from both of these guys. I mean, Shingo, we know he's got that firing arm with the pumping bomber, with that straight right. I mean, he's deadly with that fist, but to see him chop back and forth with Okan, it was very impressive. Okan definitely held his own against him. And I personally feel that this was a great show, as we said, with Okan being able to kind of adapt to whoever he's fighting. This was a way for him to show his striking, show how strong he is. Whereas with Ibushi, it was, what kinds of strikes he could do. With Shingo, it was how strong are your strikes. And I'm gonna be the first to say Okan got some pretty strong strikes against that heavyweight champion. But of course, Last of the Dragon finish him off. Not a lot of people kick out of the Last of the Dragon.
Yeah. If anybody, most of the time. But yeah, you're right, not a lot. A couple other things that I picked up on really stood out in this match. The catch on the sliding lariat by Great Okan looked really clean, really smooth. When Shingo came in and he kind of ducked his head and just wrapped him right up in there. The story that I picked up on this match was the immaturity of Great Okan. Really kind of an underlying story that they played a little bit there, that when Okan was forcing Shingo to kiss his boots and then mocking him while he was down there by focusing on the crowd instead of continuing the attack, really seemed like it fired Shingo up for a stretch there. This is right around the point. I think Shingo had that, and then Okan hit a bigger move. I forget what the move was, but it kind of pinpointed, and Shingo came up really favoring his ribs there. And whether that was selling or it was something where it actually caught him, he really kind of sold that for the rest of this match, that those taped up ribs were kind of starting to bother him as the match went on. And then Great Okan blocks a Made in Japan and starts to focus on the ribs. And that's why I think it might have just been selling for the sake of the story. But he did have the ribs taped to begin with. So you never know, were the ribs taped because you're going to tell the story, or your ribs is actually bothering you? Is this something that just came up where you decided to tell the story? Anything along those lines. Around the 20-minute mark, I have Shingo actually landed a Made in Japan for the 2 count. This really kind of headed us into the final stretch there. Okan reversed the Last of the Dragon into the facepalm with a rear choke, which was kind of cool, where he was behind him with the facepalm, but also had the choke on him, and then tried to turn it around into an eliminator, but Shingo avoided it, hit the pumping bomber, and then the Last of the Dragon to get it himself there. Really just felt like there were different points in this match. I didn't write them all down, but Okan, he was there. He worked well as the underdog, but whenever he would start getting that offense in, he started to get a little too cocky and overconfident in himself. and just felt like that, that immaturity level that you don't understand. You're facing the world champion. They're the world champion for a reason. You don't have time to stand around and mock them. You got to keep on the assault all the time, because if you give Shingo a second to breathe, he's going to make you pay for it.
100%. And at first I didn't understand what you meant when you said the immaturity of that, but that makes actually a perfect sense.
Yeah. So with this match then, going into this final week of the G1, the A block and the B block, sitting in the A block, we are at Shingo at 12, Ibushi at 12, Kenta at 12, and Zack Sabre Jr. at 12. We've got Zack Sabre Jr. against Tangaloa. I think we've got Kenta versus Ibushi. And we've got Shingo against... who's Shingo up against?
I didn't write that one down.
I think it's Yujiro. I'm pretty sure it's Yujiro. So Shingo's got one that he should win against Yujiro. Zach's got one that he should win against Tangaloa, though we already kind of touched on that could be a big upset in the making if GOD wins over both of Dangerous Techers in this tournament. And then you've got Ibushi and Kenta both at 12 that basically, unless they go to a 30-minute, one of them is guaranteed to be at 14 coming out of the final night of the block. So I wouldn't be surprised if that one's pushing the 30-minute limit. Would not be surprised if that one pushes the 30-minute limit on us, just to see them possibly end up tied at 13. Or really at least push that idea on us that they could get there and have it as a really late finish, because I think Ibushi and Kenta are both capable of working a 30-minute match with each other. That's a fun story, a fun matchup between the two of them that I'd be happy with 30 minutes of Kenta and Ibushi.
100%.
I know the other guys are hoping to get on Blown Off stream here in about 12 minutes, so we're going to kind of run through the last night that we had from about 2 nights ago, B Block Night 8. Not a ton to talk about on there. Young Lions versus Bushi and Hiromu. Solid match. More of the same. LIJ going over while letting the Lions get some offense in. Bushi gets the win with the Boston Crab on Fujita. Anything quick you wanted to jump on from that match?
I noticed that Oiwa's chops got better in between the last match that he had against Hiromu versus now. Also noticed there was one Bushi in the crowd. Just one.
So when I said that I thought Hiromu was putting him through a chop lesson, he was. He got better.
He was, and it appears that he learned.
Swerve Show hopping in, calling us nerds. Of course, we're nerds. That's why we're here talking wrestling. Thanks for popping in, though, Swerve.
Nerd.
That Canada dude just jumping back to the previous night quick. Easily Okan's second best match of the tournament after his match with ZSJ. I definitely think it was right there. I feel like the Kenta match was up there for me as well. But yeah, Great Okan's been great throughout the tournament. It's been really exposing how talented of a guy he is for somebody just coming back from excursion.
100%.
Chase Owens versus Taichi was our first block match of the night. Chase with a wonderful tribute in his gear to beautiful Bobby Eaton. He had the Bobby Eaton shirt. He had tights specifically designed to Bobby Eaton. In the match, even, he actually hit an Alabama jam as a tribute to Bobby Eaton and then gave a shout out and a call out that this one's for you, Bobby, at the end. The opening match kind of sumo tactics were, enjoyable. They were fun. There was something new. Chase acting like he wants to sumo and then not actually doing it, just finding excuses. Again, like we saw in the previous show, the focus is on Taichi's ribs right now. That's all we're getting. I was a little uncomfortable with the Chase and Miho stuff that happened, but it served a purpose at least, that, he was being that jerk and trying to get himself hated even more. So I don't want to hate Chase right now, but he definitely does a good job of making me want to hate him. And another really big win for Chase out of it, though, right? Like Tanahashi and Taichi, those are two big names to be beaten in your G1.
And that package pile driver was very vicious. He landed that thing with authority. But yes, I definitely agree that the Miho harassing at the end of there, I understood the point of it. It was a little cringy. The sumo start was very amusing. And again, Chase's gear, it just looked great. I really like it when guys put effort into their gear like that and have something besides the stereotypical black. So it was nice to see the color, almost like a vintage.
Just a quick shout out to our very own Chris Parrish, who had some wonderfully branded Love Wrestling POS show pants on for the Love Wrestling Force Pro Wrestling show yesterday. Wonderful shout
I
out to
heard
him as
Stephen
we're talking
Crow
about
had some
fantastic gear.
badass gear too.
Did. Well, if you want to see it, if anyone wants to see it, that watch along should be up sometime this week once we get it all formatted, that we can give you the actual video footage, since there were some technical difficulties last night. Sorry, was there anything more after the customized gear?
No, that was all I had. But yes, you're absolutely right with the win over Tai Chi and now Tanahashi also. It certainly sets Chase up for hopefully being invited back next year.
A nice little touch by him too. In the Tana match, he laid the belt over Tana, and after this match, he laid the tag belt over Tai Chi. And then Kevin Kelly mentioned in his final match, he's wrestling, I think, Goto, because he said one of the three Never Open 3-man champions. So you know, he's got some wins over some champions now.
So he's been the U.S. champion. He's been the heavyweight tag champion if he beats Goto.
A 3-way
Seems
tag
to me like Chase is going to be swimming in gold this year.
Chase has beaten all of the people holding gold in his side of the bracket, basically, except Yoshihashi.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's quite the feat, too. I mean, and he's not a contender for a championship? Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, he certainly is now.
Speaking of Goto, we had Goto and Sonata, another two of your favorites. A great back and forth, I thought, between these two. A lot of kind of one-upsmanship between them. I feel like you probably disagree with me on this one, but I felt it was nothing too special to the match itself. Just a solid match between two great wrestlers. And Sonata with a lot of roll-up attempts in this. It was kind of catching me off guard how many times he just kept trying to roll up Goto, and then he ends up winning with a roll-up with no finishers needed, which was a surprise.
Yeah, I was very surprised by that too, and I feel like this is a phrase that I've used a few times from Kevin Kelly throughout the commentary. It was very much a match of anything you can do, I can do better, and it just turned into that reversal. I personally really like that. It to me, I like that technical kind of thing where it's like it's almost someone one-upping someone every time, going, I'm going to do this. Oh, are you? No, I'm going to do this. Oh, are you? No, I'm like, I like that back and forth between this. That makes me very excited. I look at it as more of a quick pace, though I can understand how you wouldn't think it's on the same level that I do. You're absolutely right. I enjoyed this match. I loved it. But again, I love Goto. I love Sonata. To me, they're my little happy people. They can do no wrong, along with Satoshi Kojima.
And Ibushi, and Shingo, and Naito, and
Ishimori.
Mr. All the Abs.
All of the muscles.
Oh, that's what it is. All of the muscles.
All of the muscles. He left none for the rest of us.
Sean popping in here. Yes, we are Love Wrestling, and we hope you love wrestling, and we're happy to see you joining us there, Sean. Next up, Tanahashi versus Yoshihashi. I felt this was a very passionate fight for Yoshi. It really kind of showed that the downfall almost of Tana, that he did look a step slower and letting other guys catch up to him in that ring, that he's maybe not as crisp as he could be, as we've been used to seeing him really yet let Yoshihashi hang in there. The suplex to twist and shout exchange that they had, where they kept going back and forth and maintaining the neck control throughout, was a really cool spot, really interesting sequence. The finish, though, where Yoshihashi tried for karma, couldn't get him up, ran through all of the rest of his signature moves, everything else that he does, every signature spot, and then tried for karma again and still couldn't actually land it. And then Tana did the exact same thing of going through all of his moves, and the difference is Tana's moves kept Yoshihashi down for that high fly flow that nobody else did, or that nothing else did, that Yoshihashi's moves couldn't do. Definitely had me as Yoshihashi was going through his string and just landing move after move after move there before he tried for the karma attempt the last time. I actually thought there was a strong chance we could see Yoshihashi get that win, and have both Yoshihashi and Chase Owens have wins over Tanahashi in this, but unfortunately wasn't to be for Yoshi. Tana managed to dig down deep and pull it out in the end.
Unfortunately for Yoshihashi, fortunate for the rest of
I mean,
us.
for those of
I
you who
don't
don't,
think I would have been ready for Tanahashi to lose to someone like Yoshihashi. Not to take away from Yoshihashi, I've obviously mentioned he's not my most favorite wrestler, but he's still a talented wrestler, and he's in New Japan for a reason, and it's because of that talent. But to see Tanahashi, and it was Tanahashi, to see him lose to someone like Yoshihashi would have probably devastated me. So, but you're absolutely right. This match was definitely a very impassioned match for Yoshihashi. Both guys were targeting each other's knees at the beginning of the match, trying to make sure that they slow the other one down, but it did not work. And as we saw for the rest of the match, popping off all of their moves and finally having that high fly flow be the one to actually end the match. I thought it was a good match for Yoshihashi.
yeah,
It's a good match for him to have for sure.
yeah, it definitely looked good. Made him look like he could hang, and it also kind of just showed that Tanahashi is still on that downward spiral there.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to keep pushing through here. We're going to get to the match. I think both of us are probably, well, the next two matches that both of us are the most excited to talk about, most fresh in our mind. Jeff Cobb versus Evil. This match was, Evil turned up to 100 because it honestly felt like this match was Jeff Cobb in a handicap match against Evil and Dick Togo. Marty Asami had no say in this match. He could not control anything that happened. Mm-hmm. It was Togo interference after Togo interference after Togo interference. Coming out of it, I think it makes Jeff Cobb look even more dominant than before. We said in the Tanahashi match that he looked more human. After this match, he looked superhuman. He came out of this looking like he cannot be stopped despite all of what Togo and Evil put him through, the garrote, the chair, the low blows, the ring posts, just everything that they were doing. The spot where Dick Togo had him wrapped up with the garrote, choking him out, and then pushed him into Evil for the everything is evil, and he just ducked and just kept going as if he hadn't just even been being choked out, just completely no-sold the garrote. Cobb was on another level in this match. He made Evil and Togo look like stooges. Ends up landing the Tour of the Islands for the win, and in doing so, officially eliminating Evil from the block. Cobb goes to 8-0. Evil falls to 6-2. Can't catch up anymore. This entire block falls to Cobb versus Okada on the final night.
And what a match it will be.
The one major spot in this match that I did want to kind of pinpoint and focus on, you were talking about poor Abe-san earlier. When Cobb sat Evil down at the timekeeper table, after they took out Abe-san, Abe-san got his once in this match. And then Cobb took Evil over, sat him down, even put the little hammer in his hand and made him lay there with the ring bell hammer in his hand, and then slammed Togo into the fence so that Evil had the table toppled on top of him. It was such that cathartic moment coming to be where you want Evil to get his, and he finally did. Abe-san gets some remnant of justice out of this. It was just, for Cobb, who's United Empire and technically I think still supposed to be a heel, to play that role and be that savior in this tournament. If Cobb doesn't come out of this next week as the winner of this bracket, I'm going to feel real disappointed in it.
I think you and I are both echoing that sentiment. And if I'm not mistaken, there's also been one other time, just one, where someone has gotten back at Evil for the same thing. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm fairly certain it was Jeff Cobb as well who did that. Might have to go back in my...
I feel like Shingo might have got some in the title match. During
someone else has done it. It hasn't happened often, but it does happen. And I had that written down as well. Thank you for pointing that out. Spot of the night for me. Like that, it could have ended right there. We would have been great. Evil did bring out that baseball chair thing that he hadn't done in quite some time again. I think we first spotted that against Naito when Red Shoes had to get in there and act all Captain America with half of a broken table. I have a random criticism about Jeff Cobb's performance in the ring, where only one of the turnbuckles got exposed, and for whatever reason, Cobb hit every single one except the exposed turnbuckle. I feel a little gypped, and I want to go back and I want him to hit Evil into the into the exposed turnbuckle, just as an extra fu to Evil.
Yeah.
At one point, I have written down that I was super concerned about Cobb winning this, and I think it was at that Garrett part where he was getting choked out. But then I remembered Jeff Cobb is like Ishii. He doesn't really have much of a neck. So I'm not really surprised that Garrett didn't affect
He's got a neck the size of a tree trunk is what he has.
Yeah, but like it's so outward that it's like the height, it's not there. So I think that the Garrett may have actually not have been as effective as maybe it would have been on maybe someone with more of a neck. Yeah. But yeah, I actually felt that this was Evil's most exciting match in the G1, which coincidentally is the one that kind of knocks him out of his tournament. But yeah, I felt that the ending was appropriate.
Yeah. I've been throughout this match with all the shenanigans and everything too. The one other thing in my notes, I just started referring to Evil's move as everything is blocked. Everything is blocked. Everything is blocked. I have it about 8 times in my notes. Everything is blocked. Because it just felt like every time he tried for it, Cobb had an answer again. But yeah, it was the other thing on the finish there too was Evil missing with the chair and Cobb getting the super kick into the chair before he landed the tour. So I mean, at the end of the day, he ended up winning still with a chair shot. He hit the 2, but Evil might have a case there that, hey, you needed a chair to beat me. Although Cobb could turn around and be like, you took how many chair shots against me?
Who's the bald one who keeps coming out with you? You need that one to win.
Yeah. No, great match. Definitely, as that Canada dude threw out there, it was one of Evil's 2 good matches in the tournament. And as far as I'm concerned, it's right up there with Tama Tonga's, telling a story and convincing us that it was, an enjoyable experience with Evil, where we just literally talked about Evil's match from the previous show where it was Evil doing Evil stuff. It's the same formula. Nothing changes. And then they come out with a match like this with Cobb where it just blew us all away. We knew it was Evil's match, that if Evil didn't win it, he was eliminated. But Cobb's been so dominant throughout the match. Like, Evil literally needed the second person there just to hang with Cobb. And it ends up putting Cobb over at the end, is looking really, really strong going into that B block final. Just some news to pass along as well. It looks like, unfortunately, the Blowing Off Stream team are actually pulling out for the evening. So we don't have to rush to get done for them. We can give this final match a little bit of time to breathe in our conversation. Unfortunately, that's just the way sometimes it goes. Shout out to our team who usually put on an awesome game show there with the Blowing Off Stream. Tune in next week on Saturday night, where you'll hopefully get to catch us playing some Jackbox Among Us, other different games as we talk wrestling and play some games. I'm going to go with that one too, Mike. Everybody is still on jet lag from last night. Zach flew all the way out here for that Love Wrestling show and flew all the way back home in a 24-hour span. Wonderful man, Zach. He's our guy that puts all of our graphics and all of our work on here. He puts on a wonderful show on Power Out and on Mark and Friends every week on Love Wrestling. Shout out to that man. Got to meet him for the first time myself in person last night. An amazing human being, and hopefully he's feeling better next week and can be back here with the rest of the team to put on some Blown Off Stream for us. Last but definitely not least, Kazuchika Okada versus Tama Tonga. And I will admit that I went into this match expecting that I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I was so far wrong that I'm still recovering out of the hole I dug myself in. I'm going to let you go, because I think you gave this match a lot more respect and a lot more attention than I did, so I'll let you break it down first.
I liked this match so much that I watched it the other night, and then I had to watch it again today to make sure that I knew everything and could appreciate it for the fullness that it was. Because Tama worked so dang hard in this match. This was, I feel, almost a turning point for Tama. If you didn't like his in-ring work before, if you didn't like him as God, watch this match. I promise it'll change your opinion on him. He did so well in this match. Death Valley Bomb followed by a Supreme Flow, just so that everyone understands how big his Supreme Flow is. This man gets on the top turnbuckle and jumps as high as he can into the air and comes down. I actually think it's the highest jump I've seen someone do for that kind of splash off of the top turnbuckle. And he does it so effortlessly and so perfect. He's like, he gets up there and he's in the perfect form and he just comes down picture perfectly. The Tiger Driver by Tama Tonga on Okada, I didn't expect him to get that off, and it was just so sudden. The height of Okada's flapjacks are absolutely insane. His flapjacks and his drop kicks, some of the best in the business. If you're ever wanting to learn how to do a proper drop kick, just watch Okada do them endlessly. You'll have it in under a minute, I guarantee it. And then the Bloody Sunday after the gun stun into the Rainmaker. Oh my God. This match was just, it was almost like show off after show off after show off after show off. And it was perfect. I felt that this match was great. And of course, we got to shout out Jackdo. I mean, he looks like he's in the best shape of his life, and he did absolutely nothing. He just sat at ringside and looked pretty and let Tama have his match and his time. And how about that Tama Tonga win over Kazuchika Okada? What? I was not expecting this. My neighbors hate me. I popped, and I don't care.
No, it definitely caught me off guard. I went into this match fully expecting Okada to get the win too, and that we were heading to Okada and Cobb. I did 8-0 on the final night of the block. Somebody's going to the finals undefeated. I was not at all prepared for the Tama Tonga upset here, and it made sense a little bit more as I thought back on it. Early on, Kevin mentioned that Okada was almost on cruise control.
Mm-hmm.
That, he had control early. He was throwing Tama around. He had his momentum going. He was doing what he does. He, was feeling it in the ring. And then Kevin made that comment that he was on cruise control and he was just, going through it and just doing what he does. And that very shortly after that was when Tama Tonga caught him with that gun stun on the railing outside. Mm-hmm. And that really felt like a turning point, that it put him in the driver's seat. He brought it back in. He put Okada into a rear naked choke and just kind of worked him down, worked that air out of him, and then kind of took over from there almost, and really had a little bit more of that back and forth going as Okada kind of caught his breath and got back into it. But it never really felt like Okada really, really had him after that gun stun again.
I agree.
But I never expected it to come down to that in the end. I thought, it's a great showing for Tama, but it's still going to end up in a Rainmaker and a win for Okada. And then when he actually hit that final, the gun stun and the Supreme Flow and like everything there at the end in the finishing sequence, I kind of looked up. I was like, I think it was as he was climbing to the top to hit the Supreme Flow. I'm like, no, he's not going to hit this, is he? I'm like, Tama, like, what? No. Okada's going to get the knees up or he's going to roll or something. And then he hit the splash and I'm like, oh man, this is going to happen.
But no, that's exactly the kind of reaction I had. And you know what? Like I said, my neighbors hate me popping at 5 a.m. Oh my God.
But I've been a fan of Tama. I keep saying it. I've been a fan of Tama Tonga throughout this tournament. I think he's really showed, like, Tonga Loa keeps, playing catch up with him almost. Every time you think Tonga Loa is showing that he's on Tama's level, Tama takes it to a new level. And it's a really cool competition to watch between the two of them. If we were just watching their two matches going back and forth, it's just an increasing skill all the way through the 9 nights of this tournament for both of them. I don't know where this goes from here. There's been some Bullet Club exchange online between Tama Tonga. I mean, there was the Tama Tonga Evil stuff recently, and Jay White kind of shouting out saying he's still the leader, and Tama Tonga telling him, no, the real leaders are over here in Japan fighting for the world title. You just keep your never open weight title safe over there in America. That there's definitely some Bullet Club shenanigans going on. And after this match, in the backstage segment, Tama Tonga, when he got his interview, he's like, this is the start of a new Tama Tonga. This is a change in direction for me. This is going to be a new start, a fresh start. You're all going to have to wait and see where this goes next. In a little bit different words, I'm not quoting verbatim for him, but it was basically along those lines that, like, wait and see where this goes, because this is a new Tama Tonga you're seeing now. And I'm excited. I'm really excited to see it. I know GOD have been in Bullet Club forever. Chase Owens has been in Bullet Club forever. But now they've got all of these other people in Bullet Club forming their other group in Bullet Club. So either Tama and Tangaloa are going to go their own separate direction and just break away from Bullet Club finally. Chase maybe break away too. Let Bullet Club just become the House of Torture, and Bullet Club itself just fades away as these guys go off to do their own thing. Maybe a giant feud between them, a split in the middle. Bullet Club still remains with the originals, and House of Torture takes more of the Japanese culture side of things. Whatever the case may be, with what I've seen from Tama Tonga, what I've seen from Chase Owens, even what I've seen from Yujiro in this tournament, I think there's so many talented guys in that one group that they need to be kind of separated so they're not all allies anymore, and we can have more unique and interesting individual feuds between them all.
So it sounds like it's time for their own draft.
Yeah. Wrestle draft. Maybe we can convince the
really work when they
team
don't
to
have
do a
two
New Japan wrestle draft. We'll just draft everybody into new factions instead of new shows.
Could you imagine? Oh,
it would be insanity. It really would.
Yeah. You would get Minoru Suzuki and Koji on the same team, and they would kill each other before they would actually get to the ring.
But ultimately, it puts Okada now at 7-1. Cobb at 8-0. That match is still for the bracket. I believe it ends up falling down that if Okada wins, they end up at a tie, but the direct win over Cobb will give Okada the tiebreak. Because Evil now has 2 losses, Okada at 1, Cobb at none, so it's got to be Cobb or Okada. Nobody else can get to that finish line. It's going to be a hell of a match. Those two put on a hell of a match at Wrestle Grand Slam last month. They're going to do it again this month. That show is going to be a must-see show. I have some speculation that we might see the first unclean match that Jeff Cobb has wrestled in this tournament. That there might be some surprises coming there. They always like to throw some surprises at us on the final night of the block. I mean, we're gonna have Evil on the final night of the block in that match against Sonata as well, which Evil and Sonata have so much history and so much tension built up between them over the last couple years that even with nothing on the line stakes-wise in that match, there still could be something big that happens there.
I feel like that's probably going to be more like a final kind of showdown, I guess.
Yeah. Factions absolutely are Parrish's thing. He would draft Chaos, Suzuki Goon, Bullet Club, and LIJ all to Monday Night Raw. Win.
Oh, jeez.
No, it's going to be a fun end to the tournament, though. I mean, A Block is just a complete mess right now that I don't even know all of the different tiebreaker situations there. I think if Zach wins because he holds the tiebreak over everybody.
Does he hold it over Kenta?
He doesn't have it over Kenta, but I think in a 4-way tie situation or a 3-way tie, he holds it.
I have no idea. I'm just excited for Kenta to beat Ibushi.
It might just be. Ibushi. So I don't see Shingo losing to Yujiro. That will be an absolute mind-blowing upset if Yujiro manages to upset the world champion. Zach could end up getting upset by Tangaloa. It's very, very plausible and very possible. And if he does, it'll end up a tie between Shingo and whoever comes out with a win from Ibushi and Kenta. Obviously, if Ibushi and Kenta go to a draw, either Zach or Shingo, Zach would have the direct tiebreak over Shingo. If Zach loses, Shingo has it. I don't know what the tiebreak would be if Ibushi and Kenta draw and both Shingo and Zach were to lose. That would be a really interesting tiebreak at 13 with nobody ever actually reaching the 14 mark.
Let's hope that doesn't get to that point. That would be too much math. This is already too much math for me.
But you're right. So I think the situations we're looking at is if Zach and Shingo win. If Ibushi wins, Zach takes the block. If Kenta wins, Kenta might take the block. Or it might actually be a different tiebreak there because Kenta has Zach, Zach has Shingo, but Shingo has Kenta, doesn't he? I think Shingo beat Kenta, right? I think. Pretty sure. Pretty sure Shingo's only 2 losses were Ibushi and Zach, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, you're right.
So, yeah, Shingo and Ibushi, Ibushi take it. Zach and Ibushi, Zach takes it. Zach, Shingo, and Ibushi, Zach takes it. Kenta has the tiebreak over Zach. Shingo has the tiebreak over Kenta. So I think Kenta only goes through if Shingo loses. Unless the tiebreak of Kenta, Shingo, and Zach in the 3-way tie, as Andre's throwing out here, I don't know where that tiebreak goes in a 3-way tie.
Already, again, too much math. Just give me a clear-cut winner.
It's going to be a mess in A block. B block is a lot clearer. We got a main event for whoever's going to face the A block winner. By the time we hit that last match of B block, we will have known who's won A, and we'll know that either Okada or Cobb is facing that winner.
At this point, I feel like Cobb is pretty set in where he is. It would take one heck of an upset to kind of knock him off of there. I think Cobb is pretty.
Where are we in this world right now that we think Okada over Cobb is an upset?
Right?
We got one last member of the Love Wrestling family joining us. Welcome to the conversation, our very own Canada Goose. Honk, honk, for real. Also a wonderful participant of that Love Wrestling show last night in the Battle Royal to start the show. Definitely check that out when we get it up on our streaming and our live platforms for the replay of Love Wrestling Presents Change the Game. I think Andre here is mentioning that he thinks it might go down to who has the least match time in a tiebreak. I know that's in the tiebreakers. I think that's after record against common opponents. So it may come down to like who has beaten who and who hasn't. If somebody's beaten somebody that, like certain people that the other two didn't, which is a lot of math and a lot of complex understanding there. And then I think if it's a straight tie through the 3 all the way down through that, then we get into least match time.
I'm just happy that I'm not the one having to do that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Chris Charlton has it all broken down on his Twitter right now if we really wanted to dig deep into it.
Thank you, Chris.
Or Chris Samsa, at the Chris Samsa with all of the NJPW stats.
Thank you, Chris's.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting night. It's going to be a very interesting night. And like we say, the only way Kenta goes through is if Zach wins.
Come on, Zach.
Kenta does not have that tiebreak over Shingo. So unless Shingo also loses, which I don't see happening.
I also didn't think that he would be going in with 2 losses. That's 2 people who have taken a win over the world champion, technically have claim to that contendership.
I feel like I shouldn't be surprised if Ibushi ends up going to the final for a 4th year in a row, but I really will be. At this point, I know Ibushi's the golden star and the golden child and the John Cena of NJPW, but I don't think anybody really wants to see him go to 4 finals in a row, even though there would be that suspense of 3, him being the first ever to 3-peat.
I agree. I as much as I love Ibushi, I'm not rooting for him to be in that final. I'm not rooting for him to take it, even if it would be an impressive, thing to kind of mark down on his thing. Because to do it again, he's going to have to start over again, and we'll have to go through that again. And as a fan, you don't need to have that many wins for us to know that you're the real deal. And for me, it's Ibushi puts on a great match, but I don't I don't feel he's a good champion. I don't know what it is about him, but like when he got the double championship and merged it, I felt like he kind of got lost in that fray and that the focus was just the belt as opposed to the champion who had it. And so when he did lose it, I was happy, which is odd.
He's
But
very
look who we
stoic.
lost it to. And then,
He's very stoic at the end of the day. He talks, but he doesn't really have that presence, I guess is the word I'm looking for there. He doesn't have that thing where you just see him as being an entertaining personality outside of what he does in the ring. And there's so many who have a lot more going with their in-ring and their entertaining side of things, and I think that's just one thing that Ibushi is kind of lacking on. As much as I love Ibushi in the ring, I feel his personality is a little lacking.
Absolutely.
There's the only message I need. That is the true one and only IWGP World Heavyweight Champion right now. Undefeated, unsubmitted.
The real
unpinned.
belt collector.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay White can claim it all he wants, but he technically only has one belt right now, whereas Will Ospreay, he's sitting there with 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
quite the
I
empire
don't mean to
around
criticize
him.
Jay White, but come on, chip, chop, chip, get up there.
I'm pretty sure tonight's NJPW Strong episode as well is the one where we actually officially see the taping from a couple weeks ago where it was already announced that TJP debuted as the newest member of the Empire. So going to be tuning into that one when we're done, possibly when we're done here, or I might give myself the night off after 8 hours of wrestling today. We'll see.
I'm sure Matt is just ecstatic to hear TJP.
TJP?
I'm actually excited that TJP has joined the United Empire. I think we've seen him for most of his career as like a baby face and that I'm the top good sweet little boy from LA. Or I think that this is an opportunity for him to step out of that shell. And just like Will Ospreay, up until recently, I just knew him as that sweet little English boy. Now he's kind of a prick, and I like it. So I'm looking
attitude.
forward
He always
to that.
kind of had the attitude. He always kind of had that attitude to him. It was just he couldn't really show a lot of it when he's supposed to be the good guy. But the match he had with Hiromu at Wrestle Kingdom last year, where he showed up and he was still technically the good guy then, but he came out playing a little bit more of that heel part and actually whipped out his sword and pointed it right at Hiromu's face. And his great big fur coat with the lion on the shoulder.
The lion, yeah. The thing that kind of gave me rumblings that we would be seeing this heel turn in Ospreay, though, was his match against Ibushi, where he brought out that hidden blade for the first time. The hidden blade is a very heel move, very heel a thing to do, and you're essentially just knocking somebody in the back of the head. Hella dangerous, very, very dangerous. So to see that happen, and then Ibushi subsequently got a concussion from it and put out for a little while. And I believe this was when one of or either one of them was a champion at the time. So that was kind of like a rumbling that Will Ospreay was maybe not the sweet little person he made himself out to be.
The first time he whipped out the hidden blade and I saw it, it blew my mind because it's so clean, so crisp. He hits it and you actually think that he's knocking somebody out. And it's very possible that he does. It's not, I mean, it's not easy to take a move when you can't see it coming. And I can't speak for the wrestlers that actually take the moves, but just from a fan's perspective, there's not much you can do to take a move when you don't know it's there. Like you can listen for it and try and get out of the way, like in the right spot, and listen for the footsteps behind you, listen for them shouting or anything like that. But at the same time, somebody's coming at you with an elbow raised right at the back of your head. You gotta have almost perfect timing to make that look as good as they do without actually taking an elbow to the back of the head.
It's definitely a mainstream move. I don't want to see anybody other than good vets like that doing a move like that, because it's very easy to mess up and hurt somebody very seriously with something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Can't wait for Ospreay to get back onto the main roster, though. Really interested. I feel like we're probably not going to see the World Tag League teams announced until the final night of the G1. really surprised we haven't actually heard or seen any kind of matches announced at all for the final night yet. I mean, there's a lot still up in the air with A Block, but we don't have any tag team matches, any singles matches, any special matches, nothing announced. It's completely blank slate still. You pull it up on NJPW 1972. All that's there is A Block winner versus B Block winner. That's it. So unless we're having a show with one person, there's a lot that has to be filled out in the next week.
It'll be a surprise going into it.
I think Andre got where we were going with the hidden blade there.
As long as he got it, that's all that matters.
I feel like Goose might have got it as well, but we'll leave it there. This was a great week of wrestling, a great amount of wonderful matches to check out on NJPW World. If you haven't seen them, check them out. Find whatever highlights, whatever footage you can, whether you go check them out on NJPW World, check out the highlights of the matches that they throw up on their YouTube pages. Lots of wonderful wrestling, and we've got some excellent matches to come this week. We've got the A Block goes on the 18th, I believe it is, Monday morning.
Correct, yeah.
And then I believe B Block goes on the 19th. And then on the
20th is the final.
Is it 20th or 21st?
I think it's the 20th.
I think it's 21st.
Not entirely sure,
it's
though.
Thursday. It's Thursday morning. So that's the other big announcement here. It is Thursday morning is the finals for us here in North America, at least. And we are going to be putting out. Oh, is it the 20th? Did I have my days
21st.
wrong, Andre? It is the 21st.
It's the 21st.
Oh,
yeah, the 20th is a Wednesday.
Is it the Wednesday then? Oh, well, either way, we are going to be here for Thursday for our final recaps of the remainder of the tournament, breaking down the last night of A Block, the last night of B Block, and all of the action that comes with the final night and who ends up winning the tournament at the end. And if they make an announcement on what's coming next, the World Tag League, the Best of Super Juniors, any special title matches earned by someone like a Zacher and Ibushi who have beat the champion, and if they don't win the tournament, could end up with a match between now and Wrestle Kingdom. Lots to come, lots going on. It's going to be a great week in wrestling. I know there's so much great wrestling going on between WWE, AEW, Impact, GCW, ROH, Rev Pro. So much wonderful wrestling going on in the world right now. We just love supporting all of our outlets of wrestling and the stuff that we're definitely into. Giving a shout out to Impact for sure. We got Bound for Glory next week. Lots going on. We will be here talking New Japan for sure. I will be back Tuesday night talking NXT. Gonna throw it over to you, give you the big screen again here, Mel. You can plug yourself, plug where we can find you. Give us what else you've got going on, if anything.
I don't really have too much going on this week. I'm just going to be meeting up with you again for the reacts, as you mentioned, on Thursday after this tournament wraps up. So maybe I can, brag a little bit about that Kenta win and everything. And of course, you can follow me on my Twitter at Collins Melball.
As for myself, as always, right down here at Cody Defoe on Twitch, on Twitter. I am here every week, Tuesday nights NXT. Also pop in sometimes Saturday Reacts, Sunday Brunch. Check it out tomorrow morning here on the channel, our flagship show, the Sunday Brunch, where we pop in and a bunch of us just chat whatever's been happening in the week of wrestling. I may or may not be there, but even if I'm not, there's a wonderful team of people that we've built here at Love Wrestling who are always happy to talk wrestling, happy to have wonderful people in the comments with us. I am going to pop myself off of the big screen because I just, who wants to look at my face, right? Gonna give us one big shout out here to the wonderful Rich King at our RK Athletics, our main sponsor on the channel here, who helps us put on all of this wonderful wrestling reaction and talk show content. He's also a local wrestler here in the scene. He was involved with Change the Game last night as well. Like I've been mentioning throughout the show, check that out. Lots of wonderfully talented people put on an amazing show. I was lucky enough to be there live. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it streaming live due to technical difficulties, but we are going to have it up on our channels here within the week, hopefully. for everybody to be able to see just what happened and enjoy that wonderful live indie wrestling that we have here. Rich himself also does a lot with fitness, in-home and remote training stuff, workouts, all of that wonderful stuff. Give him a follow on all socials. They're at RK Athletics 1. As for us here at Love Wrestling, just going to run through it all quickly. lovewrestling.ca/shop. We have some wonderful merchandise, t-shirts, stickers, fanny packs, wonderful different stuff that we love when you can support us, wear our colors, give us your time, give us your energy, and most of all, just support the love of wrestling. You can follow us, youtube.com/lovewrestlingca, twitch.tv/lovewrestlingca. If you enjoy this, rate this podcast.com/lovewrestlingca. Give us a rate for what you thought of the show there. We're always appreciative of some positive feedback there as well. Anywhere else you can find us as well, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Love Wrestling CA on all of the platforms. With that, just a shout out to the wonderful people in our comments one last time before we head on out. Goose, thank you so much for joining in, man. Honk, honk. I know you're going to be there tomorrow night. If you're in the Edmonton area, RCW tomorrow night at the Norwood Legion. Come on out, check out some more wonderful wrestling. Astrid, always happy to see you in the chats. Appreciate you shouting out for myself and Mel to give us a follow. Andre as well. Wonderful chatting with you tonight. Thanks for being there in the comments, keeping us entertained as we're going through stuff as well. With that, that's our show. I'm going to call it quits. Appreciative that, we got to take a little bit of extra time, didn't have to rush that finish, but disappointed there's no BOS tonight. But give us a follow. Keep an eye on all of what we're producing here at Love Wrestling. Have a good night.
Adios.